Є стиль разний.
Ціль знищена, ціль знищена.
The derailment of a locomotive and 9 coal wagons in Irkutsk Oblast, which destroyed roughly 150 meters of railway track and halted all traffic on the Alzamay-Oblapika section of the East Siberian Railway, has raised immediate questions inside Russia. Officials quickly pointed to harsh winter conditions, noting that the train was moving through ice-covered terrain when it overturned. However, emerging reports from regional media mention the possibility of a foreign object placed on the tracks, a detail that has fueled speculation about deliberate interference. While no confirmation has been offered, the event fits a wider pattern of unexplained railway incidents across Russia over the past 2 years. Sabotage by anti-war groups, local underground networks, or actors seeking to disrupt military logistics has occurred repeatedly, especially on routes used to transport fuel, coal, and military equipment. East Siberia is a vital corridor, and even a brief interruption there can cause significant logistical delays. If sabotage is indeed involved, it would signal a troubling expansion of such activities into deeper regions of the country, far from border areas and well outside the typical zones of disruption. For now, investigators are examining the wreckage and reviewing surveillance along the line, but the combination of severe weather, an unusual derailment pattern, and reports of an obstruction on the rails leaves room for more than one explanation. Rare footage shows the Germany-supplied Skynex air defense system in action, targeting incoming Russian Shahed 136 kamikaze drones. The German-made Skynex air defense system has become one of the most effective short-range protection platforms on the modern battlefield, especially in Ukraine, where it has proven its value against waves of drones and cruise missiles. Built around rapid-fire 35mm cannons guided by an advanced sensor and radar suite, Skynex intercepts targets using precise airburst ammunition that detonates in front of the incoming threat, shredding it before it reaches its objective. This makes it exceptionally effective against FPV drones, loitering munitions, and low-flying missiles, targets that are often too small or too cheap to justify using expensive interceptor missiles. The system operates in a fully networked architecture, linking multiple firing units with centralized control to track dozens of threats at once. In Ukraine, this has created layered defensive bubbles around cities, power plants, and frontline hubs, significantly increasing survival rates during mass attacks. Former British Minister for Defense Ben Wallace, Russia, allocated $1.8 billion in 2024 to misinformation campaigns in the West, aiming to undermine support and paint Ukraine as hopeless.
About Ukraine at the moment, Russia allocated in 2024 $1.8 billion to misinformation campaigns around the West to try and undermine public support and indeed paint Ukraine as a sort of hopeless case. They haven't been particularly successful. And as we get to the end of this year, we should really take stock of where Russia is, which is one of the problems that we find that Donald Trump doesn't seem to want to listen to his own intelligence agencies and the experts in the US who say Russia is not as strong as they make out to be. You know, only a couple of days ago, Russian oil plummeted to $36 a barrel. Brent oil, that's sort of around here, this part of the world, is $60 odd a barrel. Their economy is going to survive a bit. It's on a war footing, but it is not as strong. And if we add up all the casualties and you look at the British Defence Intelligence's assessment, in this year alone, Russia has lost 350,000 casualties to this war for less than 1% of Ukraine. In fact, 0.7% of Ukraine.
Ukrainian forces from the Rubaka unit halted a Russian assault advance near defensive positions, likely in the Pokrovsk direction. Despite repeated Russian claims that Pokrovsk is surrounded, the situation on the ground tells a different story. Ukrainian units continue to hold their defensive lines and are actively repelling assaults along several approaches to the city. Russian forces have been trying to push small assault groups forward under heavy artillery cover, but each attempt has been met with coordinated Ukrainian fire, drone strikes, and rapid counterattacks that break their momentum. The terrain remains difficult for offensive action, and Ukrainian reconnaissance constantly disrupts Russian preparations before they can form a proper breakthrough. As a result, Russian units are taking heavy casualties, often retreating with significant losses in manpower and equipment. And also, on the Pokrovsk front, Russian forces tried to push into the southern outskirts of Mirnorod. A video from frontline reporter Yulia Kirienko shows their morning infantry assault on motorcycles was stopped and the attackers destroyed, according to the report. Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade repelled a Russian armored assault near Kostiantynivka, inflicting significant personnel losses on attacking forces in the southwestern sector. Ukraine's 93rd Mechanized Brigade remains one of the country's most battle-tested formations, known for holding critical sectors under extreme pressure and counterattacking with precision and discipline. Its infantry, armor crews, and drone teams work seamlessly together, giving the brigade a reputation for resilience, adaptability, and consistently stopping Russian advances where the fighting is toughest. On the Kostiantynivka front, Ukrainian forces struck Russian logistics. Phoenix operators hit an armored vehicle, a truck with 2 jammers, 2 quads, 2 vans, 3 cars, and 5 Russian troops. The Kostiantynivka front remains a highly contested area, with Russian forces attempting probing attacks to find weak points in Ukrainian defenses. Ukrainian units are holding elevated positions and using drones, artillery, and coordinated infantry maneuvers to disrupt advances, inflicting steady losses. The terrain favors defenders, allowing Ukraine to maintain stable lines, rotate troops, and counterattack when possible, keeping Russian units from making meaningful progress despite constant pressure. Ukraine's 10th Mountain Assault Brigade downed 11 Russian UAVs, including 2 Lancets, 1 Orlan, 3 Zalas, 4 Molnias, and 1 Supercam. Ukrainian forces have pioneered drone dogfights, where small FPV drones engage enemy drones in close aerial combat. Skilled operators intercept hostile UAVs mid-flight, using agility and precision to destroy them before they can strike, turning airspace control into a dynamic, high-speed battle that disrupts enemy reconnaissance and attack operations. Firepoint FP-1 drones account for 56% of targets hit by Ukrainian long-range drones and 51% of those launched. General Staff spokesman Dmytro Likovy said, "The FP-1 costs 3 times less than competitor Lyuty, allowing greater deployment." Ukraine's defense forces first used the Ukrainian FP-5 Flamingo cruise missile in spring 2025. But these missiles remain experimental weapons, General Staff spokesperson Likovy said.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.